Many minutes to the gentleman from 1 minute to the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Hoyer, who joined us on this civil rights pilgrimage, and I was so proud to be with him, and he's one of the most constant attendees, and it reflects on his character that he goes and participates. And I yield time to the majority leader.
I thank my friend.
from Maryland is recognized for 1 minute. Mr. Hoyer.
I thank my friend for yielding. I thank the ranking Republican for his comments. I thank Mr. Cohen for his leadership on this issue. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So spoke our founding fathers. Our founding fathers spoke, however, without a clear understanding of the impact of their words. And even as great as our founding fathers were, they did not live out the promise of those words in this land. Some were slave owners. And clearly the contradiction between our words and the actions of our day-to-day lives were a contradiction from our stated values to our practices. Martin Luther King Jr. called America's attention to that paradox, to that contradiction, to that schizophrenic life that we had led. Martin Luther King Jr. had a lieutenant who was a giant of a leader in his own right. And we are honored to serve with him. In my view, the most historic figure that serves among the 535 of us who have been given the privilege to represent our people and defend the Constitution and protect and preserve our democracy. John Lewis is a giant among us, a quiet, self-effacing, humble giant, but a giant nonetheless. 45 years ago, civil rights activists attempted to march from Selma to Montgomery to demand that their governor honor their right to vote and their God-given equality. Remember Jefferson's words, that our rights are not given by the majority. They're not given by Congress. They're not even given by the Constitution. They are given to us by a power higher than us. That is the glory of America, that every individual is an important being, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. The world knows what happens to those marchers, how they were stopped by state troopers at the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, how they were savagely beaten with nightsticks, and how this 23-year-old giant, whose name was then not known, this young man from Troy, Alabama, John Lewis, who was helping to lead the march from the front with Hosea Williams, beaten to the ground and took life-threatening injuries. Today, as a member of Congress, John Lewis still bears those scars, but he does not bear resentment. What a lesson for all of us who suffer the verbal slings and arrows almost daily in this public profession which we pursue. But John Lewis took more than rhetorical slings and arrows. He was beaten, subjected to hate, spit upon, subjected to prejudice and division and segregation and rejection. But still Christ-like, John Lewis, following Gandhi's example, turned the other cheek and said, "I seek justice." and I will continue to seek justice for myself and for others, no matter the opposition. And I will not do so violently. I will not do so by assaulting those who assault me. But I will appeal to the conscience of a nation. I will appeal to the promise in our Declaration, in our Constitution, and in the principles for which this nation stands. And it was a powerful appeal. This weekend, I and others, Mr. Cow was with us, were privileged to walk with that giant of a man, John Lewis, across that bridge. And it is a bridge across a river, but it is also a bridge to brotherhood, a bridge to a realization of America's promise, a bridge to a better America, a bridge to a better country, a bridge, as my friend and brother John Lewis would say, to the beloved community. A bridge then over troubled waters, who have to some degree been stilled, but not silenced. There is still prejudice in this land. There is still division in this land. There is still not the reconciliation that America still strives for. And that is why I return almost every year with my friend John Lewis to walk over that bridge, to remind myself, and I've taken my granddaughter to remind her as well, that although the mission of Martin Luther King Jr. was extraordinarily successful, and the mission of John Lewis, which continues to this day, has been successful, it is not over. The mission and the commitment must continue. That is what we must remember on this anniversary of March 7th, 1965, when a group of our fellow citizens peacefully walked to register to vote. Is there any more sacred right in a democracy than that? The ability to express your opinion, unbowed by government or unbowed or dissuaded by threats. That was John Lewis's mission then. He was so successful. But the mission is not over. And as we vote on this resolution, we ought to all commit ourselves to walking with the wind of justice of which John Lewis spoke, of which he has written, but much more importantly, the life that he has led teaches us the power of conscience, the power of peaceful standing up for the rights of which Jefferson spoke, the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. God has blessed America through the life of John Lewis and so many others whose courage and convictions have made us better. Support this resolution. But more than that, live out its promise for all of our citizens. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back balance of time. Gentleman from Tennessee reserves.